you are hearing this, you are God's precious daughter, Nancy. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere.
Savannah Guthrie, that was her video message from over the weekend. I believe it was Sunday, the day before yesterday. And a new video message from Savannah Guthrie has emerged, and some new reporting, even if the ball is not moving much. Boom, 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 boom. And our number 3. The New York Post, springing off of a Daily Mail piece, Savannah Guthrie moves, now hunkering down with siblings in a $1.2 million mansion as ransom deadline looms. Now, I've got to say that the ransom deadline, it has passed, but and that was yesterday, and it was the second ransom deadline. But the New York Post writing, Savannah Guthrie and her siblings have moved in together at a $1.2 million mansion. It looks like a very nice house in the Arizona desert amid intense media scrutiny over the disappearance of their mother, Nancy, a report said on Monday. Savannah, a Today TV show co-host, was initially staying with her sister, Annie, who's 56 years old, and brother-in-law Tommaso Cioni, 50 years old, at their $675,000 house in the Catalina foothills. They're going to name the price of everything. It's the price of everything, the value of nothing. And the Catalina foothills, it's a neighborhood above Tucson, near their mom's home. But as law enforcement paid a second visit to the house over the weekend and press swarms the area, the two sisters, along with their older brother Cameron, who is 61 years old, moved into a 5-bedroom home nearby, the Daily Mail reported. And here's an aerial photo of the home. It looks like a very nice home, and it has a swimming pool. It appears to have a tennis court or something resembling a tennis court. Very nice. The siblings left for their new home in the middle of the night amid unrelenting cameras surrounding them. And there it is. It's kind of crazy, and they've been posting these videos, and the police still say they have no person of interest, say that they have no suspect, and also there are reports that they're taking DNA samples from what they call household staff, maybe a housekeeper, the pool guy. I don't want to be sexist, but it's always a pool guy, isn't it? And then, well, we'll leave the rest of the details out of that. But the new, more private house features a guarded gatehouse, preventing anyone but residents from entering and shielding the front door from the news cameras on the streets. And that's why there's this aerial photo from a drone or something. Maybe it's from an old real estate listing, too. But looks like a lovely place. And I can imagine they want to get away from all of the madness because it's completely nuts. And again, there was another deadline yesterday when you absolutely drop dead date. That's why it's called a deadline. You had to pay the $6 million ransom. Otherwise, bad things were going to happen, although bad things probably happened on day one. But who can say for sure? And CNN, they've got the headline, Savannah Guthrie pleads for public's help as FBI says it has no suspects in mother's disappearance. CNN says Nancy Guthrie, the mother, remains missing despite her family's response to purported ransom notes. And now even CNN is calling them purported ransom notes. And the people that sent the ransom notes actually have any relationship to the crime or the missing person or anything. We really don't know for sure. But it's a pretty awful situation. And Savannah Guthrie posted another video that we just got this morning, and Savannah Guthrie posting with another plea, and it's the most unimaginably horrible thing. Your mother is missing, maybe kidnapped. Are the kidnap notes, are they legitimate? Are they fake? People trying to shake you down. Democrats thinking they can shake $6 million out of you. And Savannah Guthrie posted a new video.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place.
Now, I feel for her, and I've never had any problem with Savannah Guthrie, although a couple of videos have emerged of her being less than strictly journalistic, but who cares? Her mother is missing, and it's a terrible, horrible story, and the sister Annie and her husband have mom over for dinner, and there are a lot of things that are still unclear as to whether dinner was at Annie's house or they went out to a restaurant. But then the son-in-law reportedly took her back to her house and dropped her off at 9:30 or 9:45, and then the next morning she didn't show up at church, and that story has changed now too. I don't know if you've seen this, but apparently on Sundays she didn't go to church. She went over to a friend's house where they watched a streaming church service out of New York while they were in the Arizona desert. So that story has changed in the last 24 hours, and maybe it's got nothing to do with anything. But also, former FBI top official doubts whether Nancy Guthrie's disappearance was actually a kidnapping. And this is kind of interesting. A former top FBI official has raised doubts about whether Savannah Guthrie's mother, 84-year-old Nancy, is really still alive and being held by kidnappers. And the former FBI Assistant Director Chris Swecker said, "I'm very skeptical of this." He, on Sunday, was on the Fox News channel. He said, "Is this really a kidnapping? Does somebody really have her? And is she really alive?" He said, and these are all very legitimate questions, and I've been asking these questions myself. If it was a kidnapping, it would be a very simple matter to authenticate and provide proof of life, Swecker said, noting that no evidence has been credibly authenticated at this point. You have to allow for the possibility that this was something more or something other than a kidnapping. I don't know if you saw yesterday the aerial video of law enforcement searching the cistern, which is a nasty prospect, but certainly a possibility. So they're looking at the property around the house. Swecker, the FBI guy, also pointed out that the ransom demands being reported, which skyrocketed from $1 million to a reported $6 million in a matter of days. And there's no proof of life. I talked about this yesterday. Nothing has been authenticated. And Swecker said, remember now, it was a $1 million ransom not too long ago. All of a sudden, it's $6 million. I really think there's a third party here that's just playing with them, opportunists who think they can exploit the situation, which might suggest that there is no one holding her hostage, which might suggest that it was not an ordinary kidnapping, but maybe a murder. And why would that be? That would be because someone stood to benefit, to profit from the death of the 84-year-old woman. Now, honestly, there's, let me see, I know where it is. No, we did 11 right. And, yeah, let's go to cut number 12. Another FBI special agent, a man named Robin Dreeke, Dreeke, former special agent, FBI, and he was on the television in the 5 a.m. hour this morning. I was watching it for you, and he talked about the latest video that was out that we just played the audio for you, and he's raising questions.
All the videos that they've put out are really well stated and crafted. I think she's such a great communicator. Then combined with the crisis negotiators, they've really tweaked the language perfectly for multiple audiences. From the very beginning, we're very directed and broad, very empathetic message, to very transactional, directed right at the perpetrators of this, and then going back out broad again, asking the public's help in any way possible, and very specific with language too, in that they just want their mom back, and kind of insinuating in any way they can get her.
Yeah, and look, I think Savannah Guthrie, who was in New York when mom disappeared and was not a regular caregiver of mom and didn't live 4 miles away, as did the sister and the sister's husband, much closer to the situation. And, why would a housekeeper or the pool guy or somebody like that, why would anyone like that be involved? That'd just be a robbery, a burglary, and wouldn't have to do it in the middle of the night when the 84-year-old woman is at home sleeping in her bed. It looked to me from the beginning like someone was out to get her and not to hold her for ransom, and so we've got that. And the former FBI special agent, Robin Dreek.
So what I think is this. I think because of the treasure trove of information from the daughter's house, because, again, think about your own life with your own elderly parents. You're managing their lives about who's doing work on the house, who's coming and going, medical appointments and all these things. That's where all the information is. And this looks like, because they knew a lot of details about Nancy inside the house and things like that, was what we're gleaning from all these things. This person is in that pool of people that was most likely there. So knowing that name, I think that name is probably in a pool of people. So it's been filtered down to that. Just which one of those people in that pool of people, stretching back a week or a month or even a year or two, that's what they're trying to sift through right now. That's what I believe as well.
Right. They've got, the FBI has got a list of names, people they're talking to. You have certainly if there's a housekeeper, if there's a pool guy, if there's somebody in and out of the house regularly. But those people could steal what they wanted to steal without killing anybody. And there's honestly very little reason to believe that mom is alive at this point. I think that it was probably over quickly. And now who is responsible and who knew where the phone would be, who knew where things would be in the house, the cameras and how the cameras worked and how you could knock out the cameras. Somebody close to the home. And he's talking about, who, on the list, the treasure trove of information from the daughter's house, from Annie's house, and Annie living 4 miles away with her husband, who's the bass player in a band. And they know all about the house. They know all about her. They know all the details. They dropped her off at her house on Saturday night, and then Sunday at about 2 a.m., everything goes haywire in mom's house, and we never see her again. And who is on the short list? I'd say the daughter, Annie, and her husband are on the short list. And, I'm not an FBI investigator, but they'd be on my very short list. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And with that said, I made mention a couple of minutes ago, over the weekend, I like my old movies. And I was watching a movie that popped up on Turner Classic Movies, no doubt, maybe some other channel, but probably Turner Classic Movies. And there's a movie called Ransom, as you might imagine, about a kidnapping, 1956. And I saw this, I remember seeing it decades ago, and I thought, I remember this movie. And also I met Glenn Ford one time walking on the pier in Santa Barbara, and he was walking along by himself. I was with my brother Daniel, and I said, "That's Glenn Ford." And he kind of looked over and gave a little nod. And I said, "Well, hey, Glenn Ford," and walked over and talked to my brother Daniel, and I talked to Glenn Ford for a while. Now, I want to tell you about this movie because It turns out it was remade decades later, this movie Ransom, about a wealthy parents and their child is kidnapped for ransom. And what did Glenn Ford do in the heat of the moment? And because I was thinking this yesterday, maybe Savannah Guthrie should do this instead. And I thought, well, wait a minute, that's the storyline from that Glenn Ford movie Ransom, and then it was remade. I'll share that with you coming up. Let's go back to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Jim, calling from Missouri. Jimmy, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, thank you very much.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, I wanted to call and say that I agree with your take on this kidnapping. It smelled like an inside job all along, really.
Yep.
And I thought Savannah should flip the script and offer a $1 million reward for information leading to her whereabouts.
Put up $1 million reward and say, we'll give this money to anybody that can tell us where our mother is, lead law enforcement.
Yeah.
$1 million. So no more ransom, you're saying.
Right. Well, the reasons for not dealing with ransom demands there's a long list of reasons not to negotiate with kidnappers. And in hindsight, they probably should have done this in the first place.
Uh-huh.
But, out of compassion, probably didn't want to assume the worst. And, but it isn't too late to flip the script. It only takes one rat to take the bait, and then they'll all be outed.
Well, I got to say, Jim, I saw you up on the board, and it says, Guthrie family should offer $1 million reward for whereabouts of mom. And Michael and I looked at that and said, well, now we got to go to Jim because I can't steal Jim's idea now that Jim's on the board. And here's the thing, Jim. I was just talking about it a couple of minutes ago, this Glenn Ford movie that I saw over the weekend that I hadn't seen since I was a kid, a 1956 movie called Ransom. And in the movie, Glenn Ford is the owner of a vacuum cleaner company. His wife is Donna Reed. Their son is kidnapped, and he agrees to pay the ransom, but then he changes his mind, and he went on television with a pile of cash in front of him on a table, and he said, there will be not one penny in ransom, but I will put up this money, $500,000 in 1956 in cash. This is a reward for anyone that will come forward and name you. The Democrats on Capitol Hill in a hearing are embarrassing themselves once again. And Customs Border Patrol chief was asked by an idiot Democrat, did Alex Pretty deserve to die? I think I would have turned it around on him and said, well, Congressman, do you believe Alex Pretty brought it on himself? Do you think he should have shown up to a second time at a riot, at a protest where he was violent the first time, should have been arrested the first time? He got a gun and an extra magazine, and he's violently attacking federal officers. Did he bring it on himself, Congressman? But let me go back to the kidnapping and all that, because the FBI is offering a $50,000 reward for information leading the recovery of Nancy Guthrie, of Savannah Guthrie's mother, or the arrest and conviction, not just the arrest, but also the conviction of those responsible. And I've got to say, our last caller, Jim, was onto something here. And it's crazy because over the weekend I watched this 1956 movie with Glenn Ford and called Ransom, and it was a good movie that I had seen long ago, and I saw it on Turner Classic. So that's good. And again, my brother Daniel and I were walking on Stearns Wharf in Santa Barbara, California. We were both living there at the time, and there was Glenn Ford walking all by himself on Stearns Wharf. And I said, oh, there's Glenn Ford. And he smiled and gave a little wave. And my brother Daniel and I walked over to Glenn Ford, a couple of steps away, and said hello. And he couldn't have been nicer. He couldn't have been more down to earth and mellow and soft spoken and nicest guy you'd ever meet. And Glenn Ford was in 100 great movies, all kinds of great stuff that he was in over time, from his Paris Burning and the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse to The Courtship of Eddie's Father and all kinds of great stuff. But he couldn't have been a nicer guy, meeting him briefly in public, and it was fun. And in this movie Ransom, 1956, Glenn Ford is the owner of his family vacuum cleaner company, and he's wealthy and lives in a big house and has 2 domestic servants in the house, and his wife Donna Reed is there, and then their son, who is a sparky little 10-year-old kid or something, and he's kidnapped by kidnappers who hold him for ransom. And the police explained to Glenn Ford that you got a 50-50 chance of getting him back alive if you hand over the $500,000 in ransom money, and you got a 50-50 chance of getting him back alive if you don't hand over the ransom money. So Glenn Ford didn't say anything to his wife or anybody else. He found a way, I guess, bought his way onto television, and he brought in the $500,000 in cash and poured out the $500,000 in cash on a desk in front of him as he was speaking to the TV camera. And he explained to the kidnappers of his son that he wasn't going to play their game.
On this table, you see a large sum of money. $500,000 United States currency, exactly as by you stipulated.
U.S. currency.
You will never come any closer to this money than you are right at this moment. No ransom money will ever be paid for my son. Every last cent of this money goes on your head as a reward.
Now, one of the interesting, so he said he's not going to pay the ransom, but now I'm going to put a reward out in this, get some badasses to hunt you down. And also, it was kind of interesting, he said U.S. currency. U.S. currency.
$500,000 United States currency.
Just as you stipulated. And I've got to say, in the ransom note that Savannah Guthrie, that the Guthrie family revealed, at one point they asked for the money, I believe the $6 million ransom note, said U.S. dollars. USD, they wrote for U.S. dollars in the ransom note. And that was peculiar, unless they're Mexicans or they're from Venezuela and they're part of Tren de Aragua that the Democrats brought into the country. But they said U.S. dollars. And I wonder if whoever sent these ransom notes also watched the 1956 movie Ransom. But then it should be noted that it's not just the 1956 movie with Glenn Ford, but also a 1996 remake of the same movie, also called Ransom, this time with Mel Gibson as the father whose, I guess, son is kidnapped, and they demand a larger sum of money, what with inflation and all that. Mel Gibson in the 1996 version of the movie Ransom.
This is your ransom. $2 million in unmarked bills, just like you wanted. But this is as close as you'll ever get to it.
U.S. dollars.
You'll never see $1 of this money, because no ransom will ever be paid for my son. Instead, I'm offering this money as a reward on your head. Dead or alive, it doesn't matter. So congratulations, you've just become a $2 million lottery ticket. Except the odds are much, much better. Do you know anyone that wouldn't turn you in for $2 million? I don't think you do.
And that kind of interesting, and he says U.S. dollars also. And they do. It's a remake of the 1956 movie, and they might have taken the original script and updated it and all that. But the Guthrie note also said USD, and that is a little bit peculiar unless they're watching the Mel Gibson movie or if they're coming from another country. But isn't that peculiar? And they're demanding Bitcoin. The ransom note, or even more than one note, demanded cryptocurrency payments that included the term USD, United States dollars, to define the value of the Bitcoin. And that is another suspicious element in this, saying USD in the ransom notes, peculiar. So in any case, I was having the thought that if Savannah Guthrie learns and the Guthrie family learns that Mom was murdered, then she was willing to put up $1 million. She was apparently willing to put up $6 million in Bitcoin to get Mom back, maybe putting up $1 million, saying for anybody that turns in the people responsible for this crime. And at some point, what are we, 9 days in, I believe, she disappeared or was really last seen on Saturday, 10 days ago. But the police say she was taken from the house early Sunday morning, 2 a.m. hour perhaps on Sunday morning, and that was 9 days ago, the Sunday morning metric. But if you discover or you conclude that Mom is not coming home, then perhaps putting up a $1 million reward would be an appropriate thing to do. And I was thinking about that yesterday, in part because of this movie, but also because it's smart. It's not dumb. And Savannah Guthrie, I would think, would want to get to the bottom of this one way or the other. And as there are these notes coming from somebody watching bad movies, they're okay movies, but they're this is peculiar. A lot about this has been peculiar from the beginning, and I still have, as everybody investigates kidnappings, still have family members on the short list, and you never know. People can be strange, and the son-in-law, Mom's son-in-law. I don't like bass players. So I got that going. All right, let's go back to the phones, Michael. And what are we not getting to? We have so many stories. Let's go to Karen, calling from the great state of Massachusetts. Gesundheit. Karen, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Karen.
My name is Karen, but I am not a Karen. And at Massachusetts, we love Trump. So anyway, you can poke a lot of holes in my theory. I was thinking about it while I was on hold. But has anybody checked the restaurant where everybody ate to see what the energy was like between all of them? Because I'm thinking whoever dropped the mother off, nobody said they did not go into the house. Maybe they went in and argued about something. Maybe she fell and hit her head. They thought she was dead. They said, well, come back later to get rid of her. I don't know. Nothing about this seems like a normal kidnapping, but I guess what I'm saying is somebody in the family could have possibly accidentally killed her and panicked and got rid of her body at 2 a.m. and then pretended it was a kidnapping. I don't know. I know it's not very good, but no movies will be made out of that script. But
no, it's part of a script. It is, and look, yeah, the son-in-law. And this has been a bit murky from the beginning, too, that Annie and her husband with the funny Italian name took Mom to dinner. Mom took an Uber over to Annie's house 4 miles away, and it's unclear whether they took her to a restaurant or whether they stayed at Annie's house and had dinner. And that's something we should have clarity on, but we don't. Right. And then the Annie's husband, Mom's son-in-law, allegedly drove Mom back home, Nancy Guthrie back home, and dropped her off at 9:30 or 9:45. And then they said, there's evidence of the home being broken into, and she has a pacemaker which checks in with her iPhone, and it checked in the 2 a.m. hour. But you're absolutely right that, let's say...
Well, if they didn't go out to eat out in public and they had a rip-roaring fight at home, and she said, take me home, and who knows, they might have been fighting over money, I don't know. But what if things got heated? What if the woman had a heart attack? I know, but that doesn't fit in with the pacemaker. Maybe they thought she was dead, but it was still beeping slowly until they went back to retrieve her to take her out of the house.
Right.
I don't know, but anyway, nothing about this is normal.
You suspect, well, you'd look at family, at the the daughter, Annie, and her husband live 4 miles away from Mom. They are familiar with all of her habits and patterns and the house, and they were close enough to her to know about all these things. And who knows what was going on in her personally. I mean, if I'm the FBI, I'm going to be looking at all their text messages, their phone calls, their patterns, looking at emails. I'm going to be checking in with the son-in-law's family members and the people he plays in a band with, and see if there is any. Oh,
what if it was somebody, one of his bandmates that knew that it was his mother-in-law was Savannah Guthrie's mother, and maybe she met them before. So I don't know. There's so many different angles on this, but I think putting up money for information, somebody's going to rat them out if it's $1 million, gift or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, a reward.
Reward, sorry,
Yeah, it would be. I
don't talk on the radio every day like you. I get nervous and tongue-tied.
Yeah, you're doing
great. Well,
great.
that was it.
You're great.
Go
You're wonderful.
Trumpy Bear.
No, listen, you got to think about these things, and the FBI, I hope, is thinking about these things. You know, there are reports that the FBI has now taken over as lead in the investigation from the sheriff's department, and the sheriff himself is being maligned by even by people, the locals that live there, say that the sheriff has long been considered kind of a Barney Fife type and not much of an investigator, and that he's done some Democrat Party bidding, the sheriff has, and undermined Republicans. Not that that's necessarily pertinent to this, but another reason to dislike the sheriff there. And I just gotta say that the closer in to Mom, I think the more likely it is you're going to find the bad guy here.
And one thing real quick, you know how Savannah, I was surprised, said that we appreciate your prayers and that we're a religious family. Once this is all over, watch her side attack her for saying that publicly. They probably won't do it right now, but when this is all said and done, because they're devious.
Well, absolutely, and sinister, and they like after-school Satan club, and they don't go to church and all of that.
That's right.
And also, I've got to say, I'm wondering if Savannah Guthrie, after all this is over, and we don't know how it's going to come out now, but after all this is over, is she going to go back to the Today Show like everything is normal and like nothing happened?
Who knows? Wouldn't it be amazing if she had something to do with it? I'm not saying she does at all, but wouldn't that blow your mind? You know what? Today, nothing would surprise me anymore. Nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, all right, well, thank you for talking to me, and go Trump from Massachusetts.
You're wonderful. Thank you, Karen. And I know you're not a Karen, and it's Mass for Trump.
How they picked my name, I'll never know. But anywho, all right, Chris, nice talking to you.
Thanks, Karen. That's great. That's wonderful. You did great. You did wonderfully. That's good stuff. I got to say, it's a mystery for the ages. It's a Columbo episode or something, and I've always liked a good mystery, and I don't want to be icy about it, well, so to speak. I don't want to be cold about it, but it is. I'm not personally attached or connected to the family or the incident in any way, and for me, I want an answer because we're almost at the end of the episode, and we need the answer. Columbo has to say, and one more thing. And then we find out that, well, we'll find out what we find out. Now, those mentally ill Democrats on Capitol Hill, they have the director of ICE. He's only the acting director of ICE, for the last year or so, because the Democrats won't confirm anybody because they're third world tree-dwelling communists. And you may remember that about a week ago, Dickie the Turban, Democrat senator from Illinois, brought in a picture of their hero, Alex Preddy, who was shot in Minnesota by federal law enforcement and killed. Dick Durbin brought in an AI-altered photo where the totally fake photo with agents holding this idiot Democrat packing a gun at a riot to the ground and somebody erased the heads of one of the ICE agents in the photo. Dick Durbin used the photo, and he was laughed at out loud, and he was mocked, and he was ridiculed. And then today, Democrat Congressman, House member Benny Thompson brought in the same fake AI photo with the headless horseman, and showed that. Right, and you have a Benny Thompson, and here's Benny Thompson with his altered AI photo.
Just days after the hearing, Mr. Lyons refused to participate in. CBP personnel shot Alex Preety, and he was face down on Minneapolis' sidewalk.
Minneapolis' sidewalk.
In broad daylight.
Yeah, broad daylight. If it had happened at night, then it would be under cover of darkness and in the middle of night. But it was in broad daylight. And now he's got behind him on the easel this AI-altered fake photo with the guy with the missing head. And 6 people on his staff had to get that photo and print it and have it mounted on a foam core board and bring it into the hearing room. And nobody noticed that there's a headless man because they're stupid people. They're unintelligent people. And then there's another idiot Democrat from California, member of the House, Sri Sanadar. And Sri Sanadar, he's carrying on American traditions and the Democrat Party style. And listen to this, because they lie, they make everything. They don't follow the news. They don't know what's in the news. They don't know what they're talking about. Democrat House member Sri Sanadar.
Did the ICU nurse Alex Preety deserve to die?
Did he deserve to die?
I cannot comment on an ongoing investigation, sir.
Government response.
Do you believe that he deserved to die?
That was the question.
Should he be killed by your agents?
Hell yeah.
I'm not going to comment on an ongoing investigation.
It's the same question.
It's concluded and all the facts are available.
Same question gets the same answer. Did he deserve to die? Well, you're talking about the which one now? The man that brought a 9mm semi-automatic pistol to a riot for the second time with an extra magazine, and then he violently attacked federal law enforcement officers. I think, again, I would have turned it around on him if I had been the acting ICE director, Todd Lyons. And I'd say, well, let me ask you, Congressman, did he bring it on himself by, on 2 different days, 2 different occasions, violently attacking federal law enforcement agent while armed and with an extra magazine like he's going to war? What do you think, Sri Sanadar?